Hello again everyone, welcome to Curious Minds. I'm Mukesh and here on Curious Minds, I'm going to talk about our journey of immigrating to Canada from the US. This is my second video in this series, and in today's video I'm going to talk about the things you will have to consider before moving to Canada. To give you a little context, me and my wife Smita, we recently moved here to Canada after spending more than a decade in the US on an H-1B work visa. And if you are on an H-1B visa, I'm sure you have heard of the green card backlog, especially for countries like India and China. I know a lot of people are hopeful of the recent bill that was introduced and passed in the House of Representatives. It's also known as the Fairness for High-Skilled Immigrants Act of 2019, and now it waits its fate on the Senate floor. But let's be realistic here. For how long are people going to be hopeful and at the mercy of the US politicians? Like Jim Rohn says, if you can't design your own life's plan, you will fall into somebody else's plan. And guess what they have planned for you? Not much. So finally in 2018, when we started to realize that getting a green card in the US is getting more like a distant dream, and maintaining and renewing H-1B work visa is getting harder and harder, not to mention that the anxiety was creeping up, we finally decided to start the process of immigrating to Canada. There were several things that we had to consider before making such a move, and we did a lot of research to gather more information. And since we were moving from the US, we considered the following things that were applicable to us. Now, this doesn't mean that you would not be able to gather useful information if you were moving from any other part of the world. It's just that these were the factors that we considered applied to us. So let's go ahead and look at some of these factors. First and foremost thing to consider, are you moving here alone or are you moving with your family? Moving here alone could be fairly easy, as you would have to look at only your own circumstances. It would be fair to assume that you're fairly young and you can adapt to change much more quickly. It could also mean that since you're coming here alone, you do not have any friends or family to rely on, and you would have to seek new friends to socialize with once you move here. On the contrary, if you're moving here with your family, you have someone to share this responsibility and the stress of moving as well. If you have children, there are multiple other things that you will have to consider. From the information that we have gathered so far, the public schools in Ontario province are pretty much comparable to the public schools in the US, if not better. But it all depends on what province or city you're moving to. One of the advantages of living in Canada is that if you want your parents to stay with you, Canada offers something called as a super visa for parents or grandparents of PR holders and Canadian citizens. In this visa, your parents can live with you for 2 years without having to leave and go back to their home country in 6 months, as is the case in United States or most other countries. There are several ways to go about this. First, you could find a new job in Canada. Second, you could keep working remotely at your existing job while living in Canada. And third, you can find a job in the US close to the US-Canada border and commute daily. Now let's discuss the first option. Here, the important thing to consider is whether you have jobs available in your field of work or you have certain skills that could be highly sought after in Canada. Canada's economy is doing quite good, and I'm sure that people who are already working in the US have certain skills that would be highly desirable in Canada as well. Now the second option. Now, if your job in the US would allow you to work remotely, then you could keep this job and live in Canada, but in this case, you will still have to maintain your H-1B visa. The third option, which happens to be the case for me and my wife, which allows you to live in Canada and commute to work in the US. Just to give you an example, we used to live and work in the suburbs of Detroit, Michigan before moving to Canada. We were able to keep the same jobs. The only thing that changed was we started commuting from Canada. It usually takes us 40 to 45 minutes to get to our workplace, and this includes the 5 to 10 minutes on an average at the border crossing for immigration. In fact, after moving here, we realized that a lot of people we met have been commuting back and forth to the US daily for several years. Here is a list of Canadian cities close to the US border. Most people know that Canada has extreme cold weather. The amount of snow and the number of months of cold weather varies in different parts of Canada. If you are used to living on the east coast of the United States, then you can expect pretty much similar weather in the Ontario province, and so is the case for the weather being similar in Vancouver and Seattle. Summers here are extremely beautiful and you get to experience all the 4 seasons through the year. Having a PR gives you the freedom to start working for yourself, which is not possible on a work visa in the US. So if you are someone who's looking to start your own business, this would be a good opportunity for you. For us, one of our goals was to travel across the world freely. With a Canadian PR and hopefully a Canadian citizenship in the future, we will be able to travel most of the countries without the hassle of visa requirements. With a Canadian passport, you can travel to 184 countries without a visa or visa on arrival. Well, that's it from me for this video. I hope you have found some value in it. If you have, make sure you like this video and share your opinions in the comments section below. And as always, please subscribe to this channel to watch more such videos on this topic.